Before I begin this video today, yes, I know the topic is going to cause a split opinion, but having different opinions is a good thing and can lead to great conversation. All I ask is that when you leave your comments today, be civil. Everyone has the right to express their opinion on this channel, and anyone seen abusing anyone else because they don't agree, those comments will be removed. Let's have a good conversation today. Who knows who's listening? Right then, competitive and Battlefield in the same sentence? Have you gone mad, Westy? Well, I don't think I'm mad because I'm about to have a structured conversation with you, but I would agree, it's a very, very odd statement. Ever since the first days of competitive BF2 games, arguably where the series first rose as a competitive environment, the conflict surrounding the trend among the community has been, well, heated to say the least. Battlefield 3 pushed further than ever before and didn't have the tools to host the events. Battlefield 4 was too broken at the time to even be considered competitive, and Battlefield Hardline had a good idea, but like Battlefield 3, didn't incorporate the infrastructure to host the idea. So where does this leave us for Battlefield 2016 then? Based on past performance, is it even worth the developers' time trying to incorporate competitive elements into the game, or are their efforts better spent somewhere else? Well, let's explore both sides of the argument. First of all, we'll discuss why Battlefield 2016 is better off not having competitive features. Battlefield isn't like other FPSs, and it's certainly not a Twitch shooter. Engagement ranges are longer, weapons handle erratically, and the environment that you play in can affect the gameplay. If you try and force Battlefield into the tried and tested Twitch shooter model, it just doesn't work very well. The game isn't designed to be all about killing people. It's designed as a theatre, where each match is a show put on by the players. No one game is the same. There is no one way to win. It's all about the experience. And putting that formula into a competitive environment ruins the experience. Imagine wearing your favourite, most comfortable trainers, but 3 sizes too small. And that's basically what Battlefield competitive is right now. It just doesn't fit. On top of this, is the current player base really interested in playing competitively? As Battlefield has never been fully created to be a competitive game, the players it attracts are not really competitively minded. They are, and I hate to use this word, but casual players. The kind of people who pick up their controllers after a day at work and spend a few hours, maybe a few times a week, playing the game. Battlefield appeals to that market, not only due to the way the game is designed, but it's the biggest audience to capture. Because the game has always been about theatre and the experience, it's never attracted a true hardcore audience. Also, you need to consider the way competitive games have already risen to greatness. Counter-Strike benefits exactly from what Battlefield lacks. It is, and has always been, a competitive game. It stood the test of time through a few incremental iterations, whereas Battlefield, on the other hand, half due to consumer demand and half the other standard business practice, is released every couple of years or so. Now, 1 year, 2 years might sound like a long time, but this leaves players relatively little time to really hone their skills and bed in their love for that game. Within 2 years, the whole player base packs up and moves on to the next game in the franchise. Realistically, Battlefield 3, due to its similarity in soldier movement and gun control to Call of Duty, is probably the best game in the franchise to play competitively, if you're going to try and put it in the same mould as Counter-Strike and COD. But, because the player base isn't there and it moved on to another game, it can't gather an audience. The majority of people who play Battlefield aren't interested in playing an older title competitively when the current game suits their needs just fine. So those are my thoughts on why Battlefield 2016 shouldn't be competitive. Now, for the reasons why I think it should be competitive. As mentioned, Battlefield has always struggled to hold a competitive audience, and that's for a variety of reasons, and chief among them has to be the inconsistent hit detection and server performance. These two issues alone are, well, if left alone, enough to ruin an entire championship. A solid, reliable connection is always key, and thanks to developments made in the Battlefield 4 community test environment, we now have a much more stable and efficient base to build on. Higher tick rate servers, 60Hz and beyond, allow for the accurate registration of projectiles in motion and player location between the server and the clients connecting to it. As much as it's easy to say playing over a LAN would eradicate the issue anyway, this wasn't true with Battlefield. There were deeper issues that needed fixing. But now that's done, we have a base for fair, consistent battles. Another reason why, now that we have that base, is a chance to reimagine what competitive Battlefield should be like. Remember how I talked about the current situation was like squeezing your feet into trainers 3 sizes too small? Well, why not change the shoe? Competitive Battlefield doesn't need to be 5v5 infantry only hostage rescue. It doesn't need to be plant the bomb. It can be something entirely different. Battlefield 2 brought 8v8 conquest to the table. Various games in the past have included squad rush, which I think is a perfect balance of light vehicle use and infantry battle fighting over MCOM sets. Does Battlefield need to follow the formula that other games set out before? Other games that couldn't be more different from Battlefield if they tried? Personally, I think making Squad Rush the highlight competitive game mode for Battlefield esports would set the right tone. It epitomises Battlefield, an evolving war moving around the map from location to location, incorporating key values from the series like team play and communication. And finally, why should Battlefield 2016 be competitive? Well, because EA is gearing up to support competitive gaming fully quite soon. Recently, EA released a press statement confirming the formation of a brand new competitive gaming division headed up by EA veteran Peter Moore. This is a statement of intent from EA, and really, it's an industry that they're having to play catch-up in. Battlefield has always been one of the front-running franchises that EA produce, so why not use this time before the launch of their gaming division to see what Battlefield really needs to become a competitive powerhouse? Then, as soon as you launch your esports department, you already have a game that's ready to go. No further work required. Plus, tools like competitive ladders and matchmaking now already exist in the Battlefield franchise. They were recently added into Battlefield Hardline, so I'm sure it wouldn't be too difficult to get those things into Battlefield 2016. So, an argument for and an argument against Battlefield 2016 being competitive. Which side of the fence do you sit on? There's a link in the description below that will take you to a straw poll where you can vote for or against, or sit on the fence if you want to, and make sure you leave some comments today as well. As I said, I know this is a hot topic and opinions will be flying all over the place, but let's get this conversation started. The last few attempts to make Battlefield competitive really have just fallen on their face and not been ready for the prime time. Is it really worth the developers' time and effort to create all that infrastructure needed to support esports events and championships if the majority of the player base aren't really going to bother with it? Like I said, the majority of the player base are fairly casual players, and I don't mean that in a horrible sense, I just mean the kind of players that play Battlefield really aren't that competitive, or at least, in my experience and opinion, they're not. So like I said, if you could leave me some comments, that would be absolutely fantastic. I will be down there reading them all and replying to them as well, because this really is a topic that I'm interested in at the moment. And while you're down there in the comments, if you could drop me a like as well, that'd be fantastic. But until next time, my name is Westy, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.